everyone. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. I have a very, very special guest here for the show today. Can you go ahead and announce to the world who you are and where you're calling from?
Hi, I am Chris McGinn, and I'm presently in New York City.
Oh wow, I'm happy for you. You on the East Coast. So tell me about your past, your extensive past leading up into your present.
Well, I originally was born and raised in St. Louis. And after I graduated college, about a week later, I moved to New York. And I've lived in New York as a base ever since. And I just knew that with a few friends that I moved with, I wanted to be an actress and I was going to teach and do whatever it took. And little by little, I stage managed and I broke into soap operas and I did a little bit of everything because I really didn't know anyone. At that time, you had to either go to Yale or Harvard or, one of the big schools or NYU. And I hadn't done any of that. So I just decided the more people I met and the more things I did on different plays and projects and, whoever would hire me, the more opportunities I would get. And then little by little, my first TV was Law and Order, of course, every New York actor. And my first film was Silence of the Lambs, of all things. So my first union film. So
Tell me
that's kind of
about
how it
Law and
started.
Order. What did you do in Law and Order, and what did you do in Silence of the Lamb? Be in depth about what you did.
Okay.
And the
Well, on
producers.
Law and Order, I was on there multiple times. The very first time I was on there, I played the mom of a little girl who was having issues, which she'd seen a crime and she was afraid to talk about it. So it was me and Jerry Orbach and Chris Noth, and that was really fun. And then I got a few more episodes as time went on. I got an episode with Mariska Hargitay where I got to throw up in the parking lot. That was festive. Threw up chicken soup multiple times. It was cold, and by the end, I felt like I really wanted to throw up from it. But so I've done a few episodes as different looks on Law and Order. And then as far as Silence of the Lambs, I am the autopsy victim. I'm the dead body laying on the table. They pull the cocoon out of my mouth, and that's me. That's my claim to fame. I had auditioned for a talking role in the movie, and then they ended up saying, they put someone else in that part and said, would you be willing to be the dead body? And I was like, sure, not knowing what I had to do. And then they kept calling me and asking me if they could pull me naked out of a river. And I said, well, of course. And I was so nervous because it was my first movie. So I just said yes to everything they asked me. So they're like, can we pull you out of a morgue drawer? And I said, sure. And I kept saying yes to stuff. And then as it ended up, I got to just kind of lay on the table and they, pretended like they unzipped the bag. And then I appear like as if I was being in the bag, but I just had to lay on top of the bag. But it was a blast. I had so much fun. It was the first movie I got to do as a SAG movie, and it was an amazing experience. We shot in Pittsburgh, and it was really a blast.
What cast members did you get to correspond with briefly?
Most of because my character's dead and my scene is really with Jodie Foster because she is the one overseeing me and talking about the body that they found because it's her first autopsy that she's ever had as a trainee. And so it's like her experience of seeing this actual person, not just, in a school or a study in a class. And so she was the person that I primarily interacted with, as well as the director. And she was lovely. She kept coming over to me and saying, this is your scene. And if you need anything, you let me know. And if you need some privacy or need to get up because there were only 3 women on the set at the time. There was Jodie, there was me, and then there was one of the producer's wife was on the set and worked there as well. And we were the only 3 women out of like 35 people on the set. So it was pretty amazing and really fun. And then a really cool thing happened years later when I saw an interview with Jonathan Demme, and people were asking him about his favorite things that he had filmed. And the first thing he mentioned was my scene in Silence of the Lambs. And I was so moved because for me, it was the first thing I'd ever done. I didn't really know anything else other than being there for that week. And so to have him say that it affected him so much was really, a powerful thing for me.
So how did your career take off, and what steps did it progress in?
Well, when I first, I did Silence of the Lambs, and I also had done a play. Doing Silence of the Lambs and it winning the Oscar was good for me getting auditions. So people wanted to see me then and talk about the movie. The same as I did a play with Kathleen Turner, Camille, which was done at the Long Wharf in Connecticut. And in that play were a couple unknowns named Gina Gershon and David Hyde Pierce, who nobody really knew who they were other than working actors, and now they're stars. And so it was a really great group of us. But working with her in the play had also gotten me auditions. So when you go into an audition, which they had live in the old days, they would say, what was it like to work with Kathleen Turner? What was it like to be in Silence of the Lambs? And that would always become my talking points that kind of got, people started in talking to me. But I had decided, I had done theater and I had worked in a couple theater companies and helped run one. And I just decided at one point that what I really wanted to do was just to start to get on film and TV. And so I got a manager, and she and I were persistent with the agents that I had. First, I'd gotten on All My Children. And I started as an extra because I wanted to learn how to be on TV and be in front of a camera. Because even though I have a degree for teaching theater, speech, and English, I hadn't taken camera classes back then, because TV wasn't and film weren't the things they would teach you in a theater, major. And so when I came to New York, I was like, oh, I need to get some camera experience. So I got myself on All My Children as an extra. And then they kept asking me, and I asked as well, can I have a couple lines? Can I speak in Pine Valley? And then it ended up that they put me in the Glamourama, and I got to be Irma of Ethel and Irma in the Glamourama. And we got to go to the weddings and the funerals and be in a fire. And so all those things kind of helped for people to start to put me in movies. And so I started to get really great scenes in films with actors and directors that I was really proud to be working with. And then, little by little, it grew from there.
Well said. Tell me about Orange is the New Black.
Oh, that was a blast. Well, as you asked that, it's a very interesting that you asked that, because I had auditioned for Orange is the New Black when it first, that first season I was on, the first season, and I had auditioned for it. And what had happened was I auditioned for an episode, and it turned out that Jodie Foster was directing the episode. And I didn't know that.
Here, Chris.
Isn't that wild? But what happened was I didn't end up in the episode, but Andrew McCarthy, who just put out the movie Bratz and is a director as well, she told him, and she told casting, you should put her in this show in the next episode. So they gave me the part. And when I showed up, one of the actresses in the show said to me, well, Jodie told us to put you in and that she loved you and how great you were and to say hi to you. So it was like this great full circle moment. Even though I didn't get to see her, I was on Orange is the New Black doing this kind of key scene for one of the characters because of Jodie again.
What scene was you doing? I have to know, Chris. Which scene?
Well, there's a character, Puxatawny, the girl with the rotted teeth and whatever, and she's telling the story of how she ended up in jail. And she ended up in jail, in essence, because she killed me. Because she's come to the abortion clinic and she wants an abortion. And I, in essence, I'm telling you the whole scene, but it's okay. She, in essence, is saying, I need an abortion, whatever. And I'm like, you've had 5. Maybe we should give you a punch card. And with 6, you can get one for free. And she goes outside and she gets a shotgun and comes back in and kills me. And that's how she ends up in prison.
Whoa.
So that was my little Orange is the New Black, like, first little scene.
So you were a doctor or a nurse?
I was a nurse with my hair all pulled back and a little knot and giving her a hard time. So
oh my God, I have to watch that episode. I got to know, what you said. I know what you said, but I just have to know how it went down.
Well, it's in the first season. It's like one of the last 2 or 3 episodes, and it's Puxatawny telling why she ends up in jail. So, and it's fun. I mean, so that's what's kind of happened since is I've been very, blessed to get, got cast in Mickey Blue Eyes. I got Hugh Grant and Elizabeth Hurley picked me, and then he directed my scene, and I got to act with James Caan. And so it was like all these fun projects where I got picked to do all these things, even though they weren't the starring role. I was getting to, work with all these actors and have this experience on all these different sets.
So. How do you think you have came from Silence of the Lamb, Law and Order, to now? And then we're going to talk about the Halle Berry movie with you. But how do you think when you first started off with Silence of the Lambs, where do you think you are at with your acting now?
I would say the difference in I would say I'm still the same actor as far as, that's really for me, if I were giving advice to anybody or anybody wanted to know, what I think has helped me through the years is to know and believe that I belong there. It's not an ego thing. It's not like, oh, I'm so fabulous. It's really just, if they're picking me, then they want me there, then I fit in. And what I have learned, I coach people for acting as well, and, auditions and things. And I think what's really important is that, whoever you are, I know for me, that how do I fit into this project? I'm not the star of this project, right? But if someone's putting me in a role, my character has to blend into what's ever happening. It has, I have to make sense to the project, not, oh boy, this is my big moment to shine. And so I think that's what I have learned is the consistency of the business, to just keep being a good actor and trusting that that's what will get me a job. Because I've been told multiple times by multiple directors, and, I believe in signs and things like that in life. And many directors have come to me and said, I picked you because you were so natural. I picked you because you were so real. And that's what I've always tried for. So even when I'm coaching an actor, if they're doing something comedic, then I want to find a serious moment in it. And if they're doing something serious, I want to find a lighter moment in it. People are rich. They have lots of colors. And so that's what I think I've learned through the years, is how to trust the depth of what I have to offer.
Well said, Chris. Tell me about your movie with Halle Berry. How did that go? Who was the producers? How did you collaborate with Halle Berry? How did it happen?
Well, it was very wild. I was in New York City, and my manager called me at 7:30 in the morning and said, there's this part and it's perfect for you. And they want to see you and you have this audition. And they had given me 3 scenes that they wanted me to film and send in. So I, of course, coached them with my coach, a really great actress and coach named Kate McGregor Stewart, who lives in LA. And she coaches Marissa Tomei and a lot of different people. And so I worked with her, and I worked on my lines and my roles, and I sent in the videos. So then a few days later, they wrote back to my manager, and they called and they said, we really like her, and we want her to do all these scenes, and we have all these notes, and we want her to do it this way now. So they had taken all the scenes and totally flipped how they wanted them done. And so all I'm thinking is, oh my God, I worked so hard to do it this way the first time. But I worked with my coach again. And I really think what was happening was they wanted to see how locked in was I? Did I have some directability? Was I just one way? Also, because in the movie, I was playing this kind of it was shot in New Orleans, and I was playing this kind of, well, I'm a kidnapper, and I'm kind of, sleazy character. So I didn't wash my hair, and I had a T-shirt. I had an Eagles band T-shirt that I wore inside out, and I slated like that too. With slating when you introduce yourself, I did the whole thing on video like that, and so everything I was doing on these scenes kind of worked together. So then the casting woman called my manager and said, we'd like a Zoom with her. The director would like to talk to her. And so this is before pandemic and regular Zooming and stuff like that. And because they were in LA. And so they set up a Zoom, and when he got on, my wonderful director, Luis Prieto, who's just amazing, he got on the screen, and he's Spanish and he's so funny. And he was like, Chris, we had to be sure that you weren't Margot. We didn't know if you were Chris or Margot, because Margot is my character in the movie. And he said they kept watching these videos and they were worried that was who I really was, like what I was really like. Because when I got on the Zoom, I was myself, looking me natural and funny and smiling. And he goes, I was very worried. So we talked, and he said, would you come to New Orleans if we pick you? And I said, of course, I would love the opportunity. And I think this would be great. And I'd love to do it. And they called like 2 days later, and I had on a Thursday night, and I had to be in New Orleans by that Tuesday for 7 weeks.
Did they pay for you?
Yeah, and they said, this is your part, and you're gonna co-star with Halle, and your first choice, and do you want this role? And I'm like, of course I do. So and then it was very funny because it became, am I nice Chris or mean Margot? That became the joke in filming, because he was always like, sometimes I'd be doing a scene and he'd go, you're a little too nice, Chris. I need a little more mean Margot. I'd say, okay. And then I would just turn up the baddie in me. But it was the experience of a lifetime to be there for 7 weeks. And there's 4 main people in the movie, which is me, Halle, obviously star of the movie, Lou Temple, who had been on The Walking Dead and has done a lot of different things and is a wonderful actor, and a boy named Sage Correa, who's now 17 and tall and handsome, but was like 7 then. And so we were the 4, and it was just all of us with the director for 7 weeks for the most part, as far as the cast was concerned. And it really was amazing. Just amazing experience to have that kind of, to be a lead, to have a trailer, to have people, fuss, and not just kind of go in and out for a day or a week.
How is it that an actor or actress come into character? Is it easy to do for some versus others? Or when you're being directed to do something, like you just said, turn up the heat on Margot, how do you do it?
Well, for me, I mean, what I would say first about the business is that most people are pretty much typecast the way they see you. So, I already know I'm not going to play some young glamour girl. No offense to myself. You know what I mean? So there's a certain type I'm going to be in. So I'm going to have an idea of how to play that role. When I'm in the movie and he's asking me to turn it up, I've worked on this character. So I have a certain outline of what I want to do. Also, Halle was fabulous as far as most of my stuff is with her. And when I'm, as far as talking, and she always wanted to rehearse. So if he would say, turn it up, I would know how to be a little colder, a little more detached, because she's there to connect with. And running those lines, I can hear it in my vocal or in how I'm connecting with her, the way to give him what he wants.
Well said. And
Thanks.
what segments do you have going on for the future? If you can talk about them, if you can't, it's okay. We'll move to the next question.
I have a couple things that I can't talk about right now, but a couple things on hold, and I'm hoping that they come to pass. One in a film sense and one in a TV sense. So we'll see. They don't let you talk about anything anymore. But I'm just, other than that, I'm just out there doing the auditions and being the working actor, as you and I were talking about a little earlier, in the sense of putting myself in the mix to be seen and get as many opportunities as possible.
If you had to give a young entrepreneur a piece of advice on how to be a good actress, whether big, small, short, tall, what would it be to get to the level where you're at as far as getting acting gigs?
I would say you have to train. I think it's important whether you're coaching. That doesn't mean you have to go to school for 4 years or anything like that, but you need to at least have a coach. Don't show up on a set and think you know how to say the lines and you know what to do, or, at least have been talked through that experience. Because I can tell you that for me, it was, I knew I was a good actress, but then when I would say, okay, you're going to meet with Woody Allen, or you're going to meet with Martin Scorsese, or you're going to meet with Hugh Grant, I'd be like, you know what I mean? Because it is exciting to me. I know who those people are, and it
Yeah.
means a lot to me. And so I think it's important to make sure you get training. And I would also say that um, make sure that you listen to what's being said to you and the direction. Don't think you know it all. Try to be in the moment and hear what's being said to you. Because a lot of actors, and what I have found out is, a lot of actors go in the door and they're so either nervous they don't show their personality, or they're so locked into the way they learned it that they can't do anything different with it. If somebody gives you direction, a director, like I had Noah Baumbach for a project that I auditioned for him, and we were in the audition, and he said, "Let's do it again." And then I waited for a few seconds. He didn't say anything, and I said, "Well, would you like to see more of the same, or do you want me to try something different with it?" Because he wasn't, and he said, "Oh, that's a great question. Well, why don't you just do what you feel like with it?" Now, if I hadn't been in the moment, I would have just rattled it out the same way, because that's, my nerves could have taken over. So I think it's really important to be a stronger actor, to know yourself well enough to be able to be fully present in those rooms with nerves and all. It's okay to say you're nervous. It's okay to be excited, but also do your homework.
And how do you feel about acting as a whole? Like, do you feel like it's brought you joy? It's brought you like, what about acting do you like?
Um, has it brought me joy? It has brought me loads of joy. It is a dream come true to be on the sets and do things and get the roles that I've gotten to do, the things I've gotten to do. So yes, it's brought me loads of joy. Um, I would say, to be honest, it's painful sometimes, because the role you want, you don't get, or you go to an audition, and, I go to an audition and they will say, "You're perfect. Oh my God, that was perfect. You were just, you are her." And then you don't get the job and you want to go call them and go, "Well, why did you hire me if I'm so perfect? What happened here?" But there's so many logistics about the business, and who they pick, and if a part gets cut, and different things like that, that I've just tried to really learn that I love doing it. I want to keep doing it. What's meant to be mine will be mine. It's like with the Halle Berry and doing Kidnap. It was my movie. I had a couple people I knew who I was friends with. They auditioned for the part too. It wasn't meant to be theirs. It was meant to be mine. And I'm thrilled that I got it. And when I don't get it, it's meant to be somebody else. So that's how I try to keep my joy about the business, since it's changed so much throughout the years.
Okay, and one last question before I ask how the people can reach you. Um, when you need a coach, you said, and what about management? Like, how, like, could a typical person, afford a coach and a manager to help bring them to the next level of acting, just starting off?
Yeah, I mean, coaches vary depending on how old you are, whether it's somebody who's younger or older. Coaches vary in price depending on who you're coaching with, and they vary in style. I think I'm a really good coach because I'm working in the business, so I have a sense of what's really happening in the business. I think you want a coach that isn't 90 years old, and you know what I mean? Yes, they have wisdom, but they may not know what's current and how things are being done currently. So from that perspective, and price wise, on a logistics, it pretty much varies. As far as agents and managers, I think personally you want either an agent or a manager at first who you can trust. Somebody that you can trust, because they're not going to take money from you unless you book a job, but they're going to help you and help you get a job and get you indoors that you couldn't get in by yourself. So that's what I would suggest as far as somebody who's trying to make it, is you want to find an agent or find a manager that will submit you. Because the advantage I had was the agency that I was with when I first got started, Sames and Rolnick, and I met them and they liked me and sent me out. And then my manager, Susu Stanton, she, built on that. And if I hadn't had those people, they wouldn't have got me those bigger auditions. Susu is who they called for me for Kidnap. So you need somebody in there who can help get you indoors. It's hard if you don't know someone in the business, or you're not related to someone in the business. You need to do workshops or meet people so that you can get them to help your career move forward.
How can the people reach you, Chris?
The best way to reach me is probably through my website. I have a website, which is thechrismcginn.com, because chrismcginn.com was taken. So now I'm thechrismcginn.com, and on there's ways to connect with me. And also I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook, and I'm, I'm a little too old for the TikTok. I watch it, but haven't made anything for those things yet. But I'm on all the social, places to be found.
Thank you so much. Stay on the line. Thank you guys for watching my show. You stay safe. Be careful.
Thank you. It was fabulous talking to
Enjoy
you.
your 4th of July. Hold on.